Right friends, welcome back to newspaper editorials discussion. I have taken 4 editorials of the Hindu today, and the first one is welcome assurance. Recently, the judiciary and executive, several points which were crisis previously were cleared, and this news item is with regard to the clearing of pending cases by the judiciary, and at the same time giving support by the government whatever is required. And here I would like to discuss various aspects concerning executive and judiciary. Here standoff between executive and judiciary started with National Judicial Appointments Commission, and legislative means all of you are clear about this. This legislative is basically parliament, then executive head is the prime minister, the other one is judiciary. So, these 3 are as per basic structure of Indian constitution, and if you look at the judiciary executive standoff for appointment of judges and transfer of high court judges, the issue pertains to collegium system. Collegium system was devised by the Supreme Court itself in 90s, where judges appoint judges. Here the serious comment is it lacks transparency. Subsequently, not happy with the collegium system, central government brought NJAC in 2015. NJAC constitutes 3 judges plus 3 others, 3 judges and 3 other than judges. That NJAC was brought by the government, and subsequently the Supreme Court struck it down and decided to go with the collegium system, but they want to reform it. They agreed that there is a lack of transparency in collegium system. Accordingly, they decided that memorandum of procedure will be devised in consultation with the central government, and subsequently this memorandum of procedure was held up for almost a year, and finally there are news reports that the memorandum of procedure was finally finalized between Supreme Court and the executive. So, this is the saga for the past 20 years. And now look at the following facts. Here in this article, nothing much is there actually, but I extended the discussion. What are the present problems and what executive is to do, what the judiciary has to do to ensure speedy justice. So, my article is with regard to ensuring speedy justice, what requires to be done by the judiciary, what requires to be done by the executive. And before that, let us look at the following facts. Here India has got 24 high courts. Please remember 24 high courts. Supreme Court has got maximum strength of 31 judges. 24 high courts put together have got total strength of 1079 judges, and at present more than 40% are vacant. These vacancies arose because of the standoff between executive and judiciary as not able to finalize memorandum of procedure for the past 1 year. And incidentally, Allahabad High Court is the largest with around 160 judges, and the vacancies are around 50%, right. And if you look at the startling facts, 60,000 cases, 61 to be specific, 61,000 cases are pending in Supreme Court. 24 high courts put together have a backlog of 40 lakh cases, and incidentally the country's largest high court, Allahabad High Court, has got around 9 lakh pending cases. The lower subordinate courts, they account for almost 3 crore pending cases. So, the story is almost the same right from Supreme Court, right up to the lower courts. And if you dig further, in our country, overall judges' strength is 18,000. Law Commission recommends a total of 40,000 judges. And modern society ideally needs 50 judges per million population. And in our country, it is around 18 or 16, something like that. It is 1/3 of 50 at present. Then, because of delay, several under trial prisoners are the worst affected, as they are languishing in jails for several years, because till the judgment is given, these under trials will be in the prison, and you can say this is some sort of mockery of justice. Then no benchmark or time limit for disposal of cases in our country. Some case may take 20 years, 30 years. There is no time limit fixed. So, this is the present day reality. Now, finally, what is to be done by the executive, and at the same time, what is to be done by the judiciary? My discussion revolves around these two things because it will be useful for the examinations. Here, concerted action is needed by the center and the state governments to infuse manpower and financial resources. Second one is, government is the biggest litigant in courts. Center as well as the states account for majority of the cases in courts. The basic reason is, our laws may be ambiguous. The laws or rules and regulations must be unambiguous. If the laws are ambiguous, what happens? There is a scope for approaching courts. So, my point here is, the laws must be made unambiguous, and they should be clear with crystal clear clarity, and there should not be any scope for misinterpretation. Then concerted action by executive, legislature and judiciary is the need of the hour, and government should keep in mind the spirit of the constitution. When you are looking at constitution, not only the provisions, but the spirit behind the provisions is very, very important. Then 2/3 of civil cases in district courts are related to land or property matters. 2/3 of the cases in civil courts are land or property matters. So, there is urgent need to reform the age-old land laws in our country, and the standoff between executive and judiciary should be avoided, and inaction by the center or state governments sometimes is leading to judicial overreach. And this is one reason why it is leading to straining of relations between executive and judiciary also. So, coordinated action is the need of the hour. If you look at the judiciary, here judges must follow the principle of rate of disposal method. How many cases are disposed of? They must be calculated on scientific basis. That was recommended by the Law Commission also. Number of judges required at each level to dispose of a particular number of cases must be computed on scientific basis. Then another important aspect is, judiciary must also introspect itself about the colonial British practice of long vacations. Why judges need summer vacation? Why they are not changing the practice of colonial era? This is very, very important aspect. So, this aspect needs to be taken care of by the judiciary, right. So, here the old picture is appearing, Justice T. Thakur. So, at present Chief Justice is Khehar, please remember this is the mistake. Then judiciary must establish benchmark for clearing of cases in the US, where it is 3 years. So, benchmark must be established, just like in some countries. If you take United States of America, the clearing of cases, it takes 3 years, and this assumed significance because 11% of the cases in our country are more than 10 years old, and frequent adjournments on silly reasons by the courts, that must be regulated. Then judges they should not accept this frivolous public interest litigations. They are accepting on frivolously, that means without much significance, without much point, they are accepting public interest litigations. This has to go away. In a nutshell, I am concluding, judges must work with how many cases are disposed of, what is the benchmark, why these vacations are required. Vacations must be abolished, adjournment motions must be regulated. Then at the same time, transparency and accountability must be increased by utilizing the information and communication technology which is available now, right. So, these are the things to be done by judiciary to reform the entire judiciary. So, lot more needs to be done by the judiciary itself instead of blaming the executive quite often, right. Climb down on Caracas. This article is about Venezuela. Please look into this picture. Venezuela is in South America, that is northern part of South America. If you are looking at South American countries, please do not forget this country Colombia, because it is important because of the reason recently an agreement was concluded with the FARC rebels. Almost after 50 years, a landmark deal was done, an agreement was concluded with the FARC rebels, and this Venezuela, this is the country which follows the pattern of socialism, extending benefits to the population, and now it is suffering because of that, right. Look into the issue. And before going ahead, please do not forget, Venezuela was also the place last year where this 17th non-aligned movement summit was held, and Indian Prime Minister has not attended. This is only the second time where Indian Prime Minister has not attended non-aligned movement. So, it indicates that there is not much importance is being given for non-aligned movement, and last year the 17th summit was held in Venezuela, and these are the brains behind non-aligned movement. And Venezuela, Margarita Island, last year non-aligned movement was summit was held 17th, and let us leave that aspect aside. Let us come back to the discussion. Problems in Venezuela. Here, Hugo Chavez became the president in 1999, and for the past 15 years, this country is considered as the living example of socialism. But now everything went wrong. Now the people are against the government. What went wrong? Let us look at it. Here, Hugo Chavez became the president. He followed the socialist policies. Please remember, between 2000 to 2010, oil prices were very high. Venezuela's export revenues comprise 90 to 95% from oil, as oil revenues were quite high during 2000 to 2010 phase. What the government has done? Government extended several programs, and that resulted in improvements in poverty, literacy, income equality, quality of life. So, lot of improvement was there in these indicators, and it followed the socialistic pattern of socialistic pattern of governance, and it nationalized several key industries. And what happened subsequently, I will tell you in the next slide. So, these are the aspects which resulted in dubbing Venezuela as the country with the living example of socialist policies, but everything went wrong from 2015. What is the reason? Fall in oil prices. Oil prices crashed up to $30–40 per barrel from $110 per barrel. Now everything went wrong, and inflation touched almost 800%, 1200% sometimes, and because of the fall in oil prices, economic crisis engulfed the country, and there is a feeling that during the past few years, democratic institutions were also weakened and economy was mismanaged. And the generous government social security programs which were there for the past 10-15 years were badly hit because of the fall in oil prices. Then when the government cut the social programs, the support base was eroded. The point here is, initially they have extended so many benefits to the people. Now oil prices fell. Now they are taking them back. When people take them back, when the governments take them back, they will be dissatisfied a lot. And because of the socialistic policies, in fact, the essential things are not available in the country. Several people are unofficially crossing to adjacent Colombia to get various daily necessities. So, this is the bad example of governance in the recent memory, and the example of socialist policies went topsy-turvy within 2 years. Food shortages, lack of medicines, power cuts became the norm in the country. Right. Now what the opposition want? Opposition wants to have a referendum, and there are some rules and regulations. They are not that important to you. What is important is what happened in Venezuela. They followed socialistic pattern of governance, and subsequently, because they are dependent on only one product, they are dependent on only one product, that is oil. That's why the economy collapsed. Same is the case with several African countries. African countries are also dependent on commodities exports. They are also worst hit. Some of the countries are worst hit because of the fall in commodity prices. So, this is the classic example where one country is dependent on one particular product, there is a danger always ahead, right. Please go through this editorial, you will understand everything clearly now. Now it is a bad loans article. Yesterday we discussed very important article, that two terms I can recollect, they are very important from examination perspective. What we have discussed, gross fixed capital formation or investment percentage, which is reducing. Then ICOR or ICOR, incremental capital output ratio, that is increasing. So, these two are the major worries for Indian economy. And now another equally important worry for Indian economy is the bad loan problem of public sector banks. And I do not agree with some of the views expressed by the author. I will tell where I disagree with the reason. Let us go ahead. Bad loans, we discussed several times. I am not spending much time here. When the principal or interest is overdue for more than 90 days in respect of a term loan, it is a bad loan, or you can say gross non-performing asset. There is classification, first 12 months, please look into this. After 90 days, when borrower stopped paying back, it becomes non-performing asset. For the first 12 months, it is known as a substandard asset. After that, it is a doubtful asset. Please look into this if you want any further information, because I discussed previously several times. Please go through these slides. I am keeping the slides only with the intention of the newcomers can easily understand after going through the PPTs. Here, what are the reasons for high non-performing assets? Here actually there are several reasons, but the author says that there are only particular reasons. I listed 12 reasons for non-performing assets. Please go through these 12 reasons. First one is improper credit appraisal by the public sector banks. Public sector banks are not that competent to grant loans worth 500 crores, 1000 crores. Their credit appraisal mechanism is not developed. Then political interference, as public sector banks are technically under the Ministry of Finance, Department of Financial Services, and the government is majority shareholder with 52% and above. So, as the government is majority shareholder, technically now political interference was very high in those days, and now it is reduced after the problem of this gross NPAs arose. Some of the defaulters have got political connections, and some of them became members of parliament. That is the biggest problem. Some of the companies' heads became members of parliament, and they took thousands of crores of loans from public sector banks, but not from private sector banks. They have not approached private sector banks like ICICI. They approached public sector banks, have taken thousands of crores of loans. Then loans granted in good times. Economy performed very well during 2008, 2009, 2010. In those good years, loans were taken, and because of economic downturn after 2008, global downturn you can say, it reflected in India subsequently, because of which these became gross NPAs. High debt equity ratio of some of the Indian companies. Some of the companies have got high debt equity ratio. Their ownership is 1000 crores. They have taken loan of 10,000 crores. How can they manage when their ownership is not much? What interest they have to run the company? Then some of the loans were taken during high interest rate regime, and servicing is becoming difficult. There is a stress in some sectors like steel, infrastructure, textiles, power, no doubt about it. There is a stress, global downturn is there, some of the industries are not performing well. That is one of the reason, but not the entire reason as stated by the author. Then structural issues like land acquisition, then at the same time forests, environmental issues. When government is not clearing these issues, there is every possibility it may become non-performing asset. And some of them are willful defaulters. Intentionally they are not paying back. They diverted the money for some other purpose. The world economy is not recovering that fast on the expected lines. Automation added to changing dynamics of businesses. Previously, when 100 employees were required, now only 10 employees are required. Then manufacturing could not take off in our country. Probably we are not able to compete with the global standards. So these are all the reasons for non-performing assets. So when someone is asking about the reasons for non-performing assets, please write at least 10 of these reasons. Then what can the banks do when the loan is not being paid back? Then if it is genuine, restructuring. If it is not genuine, there are several methods. Please go through them. I discussed previously. These are the methods when there is no genuine reason. Debt recovery tribunals, asset reconstruction companies, criminal cases can be filed against the companies, winding up petitions can be filed in a court of law, then strategic debt restructuring is there. Here the loan can be converted into ownership, or you can say debt can be converted into equity. At the same time, S4A is there, this sustainable structuring of stressed assets. Here part of the debt can be converted into sustainable, part into equity. So there are several methods. So if you come back to the article, bad loans and public sector banks, magnitude of the problem. Almost 20% of the loans are into problems. Let us assume if State Bank of India has given 100 crores of loans, 20 crores are into problems. So 20%. Here public sector banks, 12% are bad loans, 4% are restructured loans. When the loan is not being serviced or not being paid back, we will go for restructuring when there is genuine reason, and this constitutes 4%, and another 4 to 5% is yet to be recognized as bad loan. So if you add all these things, that is known as stressed assets. Please differentiate between gross NPAs and stressed assets. Stressed assets include all these things. So 20% are stressed. Previously, this problem arose in early 2000s also. As per the author, it was solved in early 2000s. What the banks have done? Banks have given more money to the same company, banks have given more money to the same company, that company with the intention that it will perform well and pay back. So, that was one problem, or you can say one solution adopted. The second solution is banks can grow their loan portfolio, increase your loan portfolio so that the percentage will come down. Now, the banks are not in a position to do both of these things, because some of the defaulters are willful, some of the defaulters are due to economic downturn, changed global circumstances, and there is not much demand for credit for the past 2 years. Under these circumstances, banks are not able to do either this or that. And view by P.J. Naik committee. P.J. Naik committee was constituted to look into the problem. P.J. Naik committee felt that ownership of public sector banks was the root cause of the problem. Because of this, political and bureaucratic interference with commercial decisions will be there. Hence, government should come out of majority control. That is the view of P.J. Naik committee. Now, the author is taking different perspective. Author says, bad loan problem is economic problem, but I personally feel bad loan problem is economic problem only up to 30 to 40%, but 60% is either willful defaulting or some other reason which the companies very well know. They diverted the funds for some other purpose. Maybe 30 to 40% cases, it may be economic problem, but at least 50 to 60% of the loans they very well know, and they exploited the banking system, because these banks are public sector banks with the political patronage. They have taken the loans. So, I do not agree with this aspect. It may be economic problem, but other aspects are also involved. As I have discussed, 12 points I listed. So, the major problem has been caused due to unexpected changes in the economic environment, timetables, then growth rates assumptions going wrong. These are absolutely correct, but there is some other aspect also for these bad loans. Then what went wrong in the author's view during the past 2 years? Bank Board Bureau was established with Vinod Rai as the chairman, but it could not live up to the expectations. That is the essence of this page. Please read this. Then what is the solution proposed by the author? The author says there are very few loans which are high valued, 5,000 crores, 10,000 crores, 2,000 crores, something like that. Please identify them. After that, there may be losses. If the loan is 1,000 crores, you may get 500 crores only. So, let the banks decide. Subsequently, let it be put up to oversight committee, because banks are fearing for haircut. If banks reduce or banks write off, then what happens? Tomorrow CBI may raid the houses of bank officials. They are fearing for it. So, what the author suggests is, the author suggests, let Finance Ministry come up with oversight committee or loan resolution authority through an act of parliament, and let all the minutes be recorded, and let all the decisions be recorded, and let it be put up to either oversight committee or loan resolution authority, and let them take the decision, because immediately banks must come out of this problem. Otherwise, the industry is suffering, banks are suffering. So, he is suggesting that oversight committee and loan resolution authority, banks may not be in a position to take decision on bank loans with vigilance problems. Hence, oversight committee or parliament mandated loan resolution authority must be established, and they will take the decision, and it should not be the scrutiny by CBI in future. That is one thing. After solving it, then banks must be provided adequate capital to stand on their own. That means capital adequacy ratio must be maintained. For that, central government must support the banks. So, he gave good suggestion. I fully agree with the suggestion, but the reasons what he has mentioned, I am not agreeing fully. Only these are partially correct. There are other reasons for partial increase in the NPAs, right. So, this is good suggestion, government should solve the problem immediately. Two things: provide oversight committee or loan resolution authority, give full powers, at the same time capitalize the banks subsequently. Last one, ethnic pressures and a fragile peace. Here, northeastern part of the country, this ethnic problems are there in mostly northeastern part of the country. I have already told you, when you are looking at northeastern part, Tawang, please don't forget, Tawang is here. So, this place is Tawang, and Dalai Lama is going to visit. China objected. Those are all different stories. Then if you look at Assam, Assam is home to Majuli Island. Majuli is the largest river island in the world. So, largest river island in the world is in Assam. Then Meghalaya is known for route bridges. This thing please don't forget. And trilateral highway is taking off from Manipur, More in Manipur. So, these things please don't forget. We are going to talk about Manipur. Recently, the agitation was called off by United Naga Council, and there are two important issues which are going to be faced by the Manipur government. The first issue is central government concluded agreement with NSCN-IM. Central government concluded agreement with National Socialist Council of Nagaland. This is the news item of 2015. Lot of secrecy was maintained, and the affected states were also not taken into consideration. Lot of secrecy was maintained, and there is no clarity on sovereignty clause. And now NSCN is talking about sovereignty, shared sovereignty. No one knows what exactly in the agreement of 2015. This is the agreement central government concluded with NSCN ISAC move of action. And here the details are not clear. Why I am talking about this agreement is, it involves 4 states. This agreement with Naga rebels, ISAC move of action, involves 4 states. One is Nagaland, other one is Arunachal Pradesh, other one is Assam, other one is Manipur. So, here 4 states are involved, and these were not taken into confidence. When there is some issue of giving some autonomy to Naga people, then it involves 4 states. Nagaland, there should not be any problem, but the Naga inhabited areas of Manipur, Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. So, this may create problem. So, the first issue is, quite often Naga people talk about shared sovereignty condition in the agreement. It is not understood what exactly the framework agreement talks about. The General Secretary of NSCN says that framework agreement recognizes unique history, identity, sovereignty and territory of the Nagas. And it is not clear what exactly the sovereignty meaning of Nagas, right? So, the General Secretary also stated that it recognizes the legitimate right of the Nagas to integrate all Naga territories, but the biggest problem is it encompasses 4 states in northeastern region of the country, and it may lead to the similar demands from other ethnic tribes in northeastern part of the country. And the most important aspect is, by keeping secrecy as far as the deal is concerned, the adjacent states which are also going to be affected because of the agreement are not clear about what will happen, and Manipur is also one such state. This is issue number 1. What will happen to the Naga inhabited areas in Manipur if this agreement concluded with NSCN goes through? Second one is, Métis are demanding inner line permit. Here Métis, they are staying in the valley area and they constitute 60% of Manipur, but they are inhabited in just 1/10 of the area of Manipur. They are occupying less area, but there are majority people in Manipur. And at the same time, if you look at hill tribes, there are Nagas and Kukis as well as others which constitute 40%, but they are occupying 90% of area of Manipur. So, the Meiteis which are around 60% but occupy only 10% of area are asking for inner line permit. So, two issues if you look at Manipur. What will happen to Nagaland? What exactly meant by sovereignty of Nagaland? Or you can say sovereignty of Nagas, not Nagaland, sovereignty of Nagas. If it involves 4 states, whether the states were taken into confidence or not. Second one is to satisfy the Meiteis, they are asking for inner line permits. Inner line permits are basically the colloquial eras thing here for giving inner line permit. In fact, 3 bills were passed in 2016. It led to lot of violence and 8 people were killed in the violence. And if you want what is meant by inner line permit, please look into this. This is the official travel document issued by the government of India, and it allows inward travel of Indian citizens. Now, it is in vogue in 3 states in northeastern part of the country: Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram, Nagaland. In 3 states, this inner line permit is in vogue, and Manipur also, Meiteis, which are the majority people and occupying very less area in the state, they are asking for inner line permit. At present, this inner line permit is in vogue in 3 states, Arunachal, Mizoram and Nagaland, and this is as per Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulations of 1873. Basically, it was imposed to protect the British interests in tea, oil and elephant trade in the 19th century. And now this inner line permit to protect the regional interests, to protect the local population from settlers from other states. This is in vogue in Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram and Nagaland. So, in examination, when you are looking at northeastern part of the country, inner line permit may be asked. Inner line permit at present is in vogue in 3 states, Arunachal, Mizoram, Nagaland. Meiteis in Manipur are asking for it. So, these things please do not forget. And finally, before concluding, I think before concluding, you got a clear idea what are the problems Manipur is going to face, because new chief minister assumed charge. First is what is the issue with regard to Naga inhabited areas, as central government concluded already agreement with NSC and IM faction. Second point is the majority population in Manipur, Meiteis, are asking for inner line permit to protect the onslaught of other people from other regions. To prevent influx of people from other regions, they are asking for inner line permit. So, these 2 things please do not forget. And when you are looking at northeastern part of the country, in Assam, Majuli Island I have told you, and another important aspect with regard to Assam is the citizens registry is being maintained, is being prepared. The registry of citizens, if someone asks you a question with regard to the registry of citizens, this is being maintained or being prepared in Assam to look at the infiltrators after particular cutoff date, right. So, we discussed 2 important issues, NSCN agreement which was concluded in 15, and the second one is with regard to inner line permit and what will happen to the inner line permit being asked by the Meiteis. Right friends, let us conclude here. We discussed in detail 4 aspects today. Please do join at 12:30. Have a nice day. Thank you. Elinda Bani.